Ethan Cole wiped the sweat from his brow as he tightened the last bolt on the hovering repair platform. The station hung above Valor, a massive gas giant that glowed in streaks of green and purple, its storms visible even from orbit. This was Ethan's home for the last 3 years. A small, lonely repair station where humans and aliens alike brought ships in need of fixing. Most of the time it was quiet, with only the hum of engines and the occasional call over the comms breaking the silence. But today, a sharp alarm cut through the air, making his stomach drop. A small freighter had entered the station's docking area without proper clearance. Red warning lights blinked, and the docking bay's auto-safety barriers began closing. Ethan jumped down from his platform and ran toward the comms.
"This is Station Alpha! You're entering restricted space!" he shouted.
"Identify yourself immediately!" Static filled the line, and then a voice, soft but urgent, responded in broken Galactic Basic. "Please. Help. Ship. Malfunction. No crash." Ethan frowned. That was unusual. Most freighters didn't plead. They sent proper distress codes. He tapped his communicator.
"Hold on. I'm coming down."
"Don't move." By the time he reached the docking bay, a small freighter had indeed crash-landed, its hull dented and smoking. The front of the ship was crushed as if it had tried to enter the station too fast. Ethan grabbed his tool pack and approached cautiously. The ship hissed and popped with sparks. From inside, a strange figure stumbled out. She was larger than any alien Ethan had seen, plump in a way that made her look almost soft, yet her movements were determined and quick. Her skin was pale lavender, and she had 2 large, curious eyes that darted nervously around the docking bay. She carried a container that smelled strongly of spices and something savory, something Ethan didn't recognize. "I'm fine," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Just ship broken." She paused, then added with a nervous giggle, I can cook."
"I can fix it mostly." Ethan blinked.
He had seen a lot of aliens, but he had never met one who announced their culinary skills as part of a survival pitch. Still, he kept his professional tone. "Name?" he asked, crouching to examine the ship. "Zilla," she said softly, hugging her spice container like a shield. Then, with a small, embarrassed sigh, she added, "I'm too fat to be loved, sir, but I can cook." Ethan raised an eyebrow, unsure what to say. The last thing he expected today was a plump alien with culinary skills, who seemed almost apologetic for her size. But there was something in her eyes, determination, hope, and maybe a little fear, that made him nod. "All right, Zilla."
"Let's see what we're dealing with. Don't touch anything else until I say so."
Zilla relaxed slightly, and together they approached the freighter. Ethan ran diagnostic scanners over the hull while she fumbled with wires, occasionally muttering to herself in a language he didn't understand. Sparks flew from a panel she touched, and Ethan jumped back, scowling. "Careful."
"This isn't a kitchen,"
he said, though there was a hint of amusement in his voice. I know," she said nervously. "But cooking, it helps me think." Ethan studied her for a moment. She was clearly talented, but clumsy under pressure. And yet there was a rhythm to her movements, a method hidden beneath the chaos. He shook his head. This was going to be interesting. The repair process took hours. Ethan handed her tools and directed her to hold panels steady while he rewired circuits. She tried to mimic his motions, sometimes dropping a wrench or spilling a small bag of alien flour across the floor. Each time she apologized profusely, her voice trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm slow." I can't do this fast enough," she said, looking down.
"You're fine," Ethan said firmly. "We all start somewhere. Just follow my lead." By the time the ship was stable, the station's food replication system had shut down for maintenance.
Zilla looked despondent. Ethan noticed her shoulders slump. I could make something," she said quietly, her lavender hands clutching her spice container. Maybe. Something you'd like. Ethan raised an eyebrow, curious despite himself. You mean cook? Yes, she said, nodding earnestly.
Cooking, it's my best skill.
I want to show it, before you think badly of me.
Ethan smiled faintly. All right, Scylla. Show me what you can do. She lit small burners on the station's portable kitchen platform, and the scent of alien herbs and spices immediately filled the air. Ethan felt his stomach growl. She moved quickly now, confidently, mixing ingredients with a grace that surprised him. Every movement, though large and awkward at first, carried a hint of artistry. What is this? Ethan asked, peering into a bubbling pot that smelled richer than anything he had eaten in years. It's called Trellian stew, she said, smiling shyly. It tastes like home. Ethan took a small sample, cautious at first. The flavors were strong, unfamiliar, but comforting. Sweet, savory, with a hint of something he couldn't name, yet it made him feel at ease. He glanced at Zilla, who watched him nervously. Well, this is incredible, he admitted. You really can cook. Her eyes widened, and a small laugh escaped her lips.
You really think so?
Yes, Ethan said. And if you keep working with me, you might find people who see more than just appearances.
Zilla's ears twitched. A gesture Ethan had learned indicated pleasure in her species. She nodded, almost overwhelmed with relief. Over the next few days, Ethan and Zilla worked side by side. Repairs, diagnostics, and culinary experiments filled the hours. Zilla taught Ethan how to mix alien ingredients, while Ethan taught her basic mechanical fixes. She was a quick learner, and her laughter often echoed through the empty corridors, lightening the usually silent station. But the station wasn't entirely peaceful. Word of Zilla's presence spread, mostly due to the enticing smells wafting from her cooking. Curious alien traders, smugglers, and station workers began dropping by, trying to see what all the fuss was about. Some sneered at her size. Others doubted her abilities. Zilla, despite her nerves, kept cooking, determined to prove herself. Ethan noticed this, and for the first time in months, he felt a sense of partnership with someone. Humans were used to being underestimated, and he saw a reflection of that in Zilla. Misjudged, dismissed, yet talented and clever. It reminded him why humans often thrived in situations where raw strength or alien abilities failed. Ingenuity, persistence, and heart mattered more than appearance. One evening, after a long day of repairs, Zilla finally sat down across from him. The small table between them was filled with dishes she had prepared. Steaming bowls of stew, spicy fried dumplings, and a sweet pastry that smelled faintly of Valor's native fruits. Ethan took a bite, his eyes widening. "This is amazing," he said, genuinely impressed. "You've got talent, Zilla. Real talent." She blushed, embarrassed but proud. Thank you.
I was afraid you'd laugh at me.
Ethan shook his head. No, humans appreciate skill, courage, and creativity, not just looks. You'll see that if you stay here long enough. Zilla smiled, her confidence growing slightly. She realized that her size, which she had always thought of as a weakness, didn't define her. Her skills, her ideas, and her heart did. As the station's lights dimmed for the night, the two sat quietly, savoring food and the warmth of shared accomplishment. Outside, the gas giant spun slowly, storms raging far below, but in the little repair station, there was calm. For Ethan and Zilla, the beginning of something unusual, exciting, and possibly life-changing had begun. Tomorrow, the real challenge would come. the moment when Zilla's cooking would meet the scrutiny of the wider galaxy. But tonight, they both allowed themselves a small victory. Trust, friendship, and a meal that felt like home. The next morning, the repair station buzzed with activity as unusual visitors began to arrive. Word had spread that the strange, plump alien girl, Zilla, could cook meals that were unlike anything the galaxy had tasted before. Traders, smugglers, and curious station workers crowded the corridors, peeking into the kitchen where Zilla had set up her portable cooking platform. Zilla was already at work, humming softly to herself as she chopped alien vegetables with precise motions. She wore a small apron, tied tightly around her waist, which did little to hide her plump form, but she ignored the stares. Every movement she made was filled with concentration. Ethan stood nearby, adjusting the station's gravity stabilizers to make sure the floating pans didn't fly around while she worked. "Careful," he said as a pot tilted dangerously.
"You don't want a floating soup attack today," Zilla giggled nervously. I
can manage," she said. Mostly. The first visitors arrived, a pair of smugglers, two alien species known for their love of competition and disdain for anything unusual. They peered over the kitchen counter, wrinkling their noses. "This one?" One sneered, pointing at Zilla. "She's big. How can she cook anything good?" Zilla's ears twitched, and she frowned. I can," she said softly. "Please wait and taste." Ethan stepped forward. "She's better than you think," he said. "If you want to taste the best, just wait." The smugglers exchanged skeptical looks but stayed. Villa began to prepare a dish called Valorian Flame Stew, a spicy aromatic meal made from rare ingredients she had salvaged from her ship. She moved with rhythm and care, adding ingredients one by one, adjusting heat levels, and stirring the pot in a way that made the aroma fill the entire docking bay. People began to gather. Station workers peeked from corridors. Even a few visiting merchants paused their business to watch. The smell was intoxicating. Spicy, sweet, tangy, unlike anything they had experienced. Zilla's hands moved confidently now, her nerves slowly giving way to focus and determination. Finally, the smugglers tasted the stew. Their eyes widened. They muttered to each other, then smiled, reluctantly. This is, amazing, one admitted, unable to hide it. Zilla's ears twitched with happiness. Thank you, she said softly, her voice filled with pride. Ethan clapped lightly. See? Talent matters more than appearances. The attention Zilla received that day sparked an idea. Ethan leaned closer to her as the crowd dispersed. "There's a contest coming up in the central arena," he said. "A cooking contest. You could enter."
"Show everyone what you can really do."
Zilla froze. Her large eyes widened, and she shook her head. I can't.
I'll file. I'm too big, too clumsy.
Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder.
You've already impressed more people than you realize, and even if you stumble, I'll be there.
Humans always find a way to fix things. Zilla thought about it. Brown. The fear of failure tugged at her, but the idea of proving herself, of showing her skill to the galaxy, sparked excitement. Maybe I can try, she whispered. And so the challenge was set. The station's central arena, a wide circular space designed for multi-species gatherings, would host Zilla's first real test. The day of the contest arrived, and the arena was packed. Aliens of all shapes and sizes gathered to watch the spectacle, and the competitors, some renowned chefs from distant worlds, smirked at Zilla when she entered. She carried her spice container and a few utensils salvaged from her ship. Ethan followed closely behind, carrying additional tools and support devices. "Don't worry," he whispered. "Just focus on the food. You've got this." Zilla nodded, swallowing her nerves. She stepped into the contest area, where the judges 3 aliens, known for their strict standards, watched with mild amusement. The contest began. Each chef had to prepare a dish that represented their homeworld. Zilla's competitors moved quickly, using complex tools, exotic ingredients, and advanced cooking techniques that dazzled the audience. Zilla's heart pounded, and for a moment she doubted herself. Ethan noticed and gave her a reassuring nod. "Remember what I taught you," he said quietly. "Work with what you have. Be clever. Improvise." Zilla took a deep breath and began. She combined elements of her homeworld's cuisine with techniques she had learned from Ethan. She crafted a stew that changed colors as it cooked, released fragrant spices into the air, and even created a gentle steam cloud shaped like a small flower above the pot. The audience gasped. Some of the alien chefs sneered, dismissing her as a novelty. But as the aroma spread, whispers of admiration began to circulate. Ethan adjusted the temperature controls and stabilized the platforms so that nothing would float or spill. Zilla's movements became smoother, more confident. Her size no longer seemed like a hindrance. It became part of her rhythm, giving her strength and stability as she worked. Minutes passed, each one more intense than the last. Zilla added a pinch of spice here, a swirl of sauce there. The judges leaned forward. Intrigued, she poured the final ingredient into the stew, and a burst of fragrant steam spiraled upward. The aroma was unlike anything they had experienced. When the time was up, the judges approached. Zilla held her breath as they tasted her dish. The first judge's eyes widened. The second tilted its head, tasting carefully. The third, a tall alien with multiple eyes, leaned back and whispered to the others. Finally, the lead judge turned to the audience.
"This dish is extraordinary," they announced. "It combines flavors and techniques from multiple worlds, yet remains harmonious and original."
The chef has a unique talent.
The arena erupted in murmurs and applause. Zilla's ears twitched in disbelief.
She had done it. Against all odds, she had impressed the galaxy's toughest judges. Ethan clapped loudly from the sidelines.
"I told you," he said, smiling.
"Talent matters more than appearances." Zilla approached him, her face flushed with happiness and pride. I didn't expect this," she whispered. "You should," Ethan said. "You're amazing. Never forget it." The contest sparked new challenges. Aliens who had underestimated her approached with offers of friendship and collaboration. Zilla realized that her cooking was more than a skill. It was a bridge between worlds. Her confidence grew, and she began to see herself not as too fat to be loved, but as someone who could make a difference in her own way. Over the following days, Zilla and Ethan continued to work together, repairing ships and experimenting with new recipes. Zilla's fame began to spread beyond the station. Travelers spoke of the plump alien girl who could cook like no one else. She received messages from distant planets, asking for recipes or advice. Ethan watched her growth with pride. Humans thrived in this galaxy not because they were the strongest, but because they could adapt, improvise, and see potential where others saw limitations. Zilla embodied the same qualities, and together they made an unlikely but unstoppable team. One evening, as Zilla prepared a simple meal for the station crew, she looked at Ethan.
I think I understand now," she said. "It's not about size or fear or what others think.
It's about what you can create and who you are inside." Ethan nodded.
Exactly.
And if you keep believing in yourself, there's no limit to what you can do. Zilla smiled, her confidence growing with each dish she prepared. She realized that being different wasn't a weakness. It was her strength. The galaxy might have doubted her, but she had proven that creativity, heart, and determination could shine brighter than any prejudice. The next challenge awaited. The contest had opened doors, but there were greater adventures to come. Zilla would face new judges, new species, and new culinary challenges that would test her creativity and courage. But she was no longer afraid. She had a friend in Ethan, skills she could rely on, and a growing belief in herself. As the sun of Valor rose over the horizon, bathing the station in a soft green glow, Zilla began preparing her next masterpiece. The galaxy might be full of skeptics and naysayers, but she had learned that talent, heart, and determination could change minds, and perhaps even hearts. Ethan watched her work, quietly proud. Humans had a way of surviving and thriving that others often overlooked. And now, he realized, that same human spirit had inspired Zilla to find her own strength. Together, they would face whatever the galaxy had to offer. The aroma of Zilla's cooking filled the station once again, a promise of delicious meals, laughter, and adventures yet to come. And somewhere deep inside, she felt a spark of hope, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, she had found a place where she truly belonged. The central arena of Station Alpha was alive with energy once again. Zilla had become something of a local celebrity. Word of her unique cooking had spread across the station, and now she faced her biggest challenge yet, the Galactic Culinary Showcase, a competition that brought chefs from multiple star systems together to test their skills in front of hundreds of spectators. Zilla stood at her station, glancing nervously at the other competitors. They were sleek, confident, and often robotic in their precision. Some were towering insectoid species with multiple arms, capable of chopping ingredients at lightning speed. Others were humanoids, with advanced cooking tools that shimmered with energy fields. Zilla's simple portable kitchen looked tiny in comparison. She clutched her spice container tightly, and her large lavender ears twitched with anxiety. Ethan leaned over, whispering, "Don't worry. You've come a long way. Just focus on what you know. Remember, humans and your kind always find a clever way." Zilla took a deep breath and nodded. She reminded herself of her journey, the crash, the repair station, the first contest, the doubting eyes that had slowly turned to admiration. She wasn't the same alien girl who had nervously introduced herself to Ethan. She had skill, experience, and a growing belief in herself. The contest began. Judges moved through the arena, their multiple eyes scanning every chef. The challenge was to create a dish representing both their homeworld and their creativity, all within a set time. Zilla's competitors moved with speed and precision, creating dazzling displays that wowed the audience. Flames, levitating ingredients, and high-tech utensils swirled in a choreographed chaos. Zilla's heart pounded. How could she, with her small tools and humble kitchen, compete? Ethan tapped her shoulder. "Don't copy them.
Use your own strength.
Improvise. Be yourself." Zilla closed her eyes for a moment, imagining her family back home, the smells of her childhood kitchen, and the joy of cooking for someone who appreciated it. She opened her eyes and smiled slightly. She began mixing ingredients in her pots with careful, deliberate movements. Each chop, each stir, each addition was precise, born from intuition and creativity rather than speed. At first, the other chefs glanced at her with amusement. Some whispered to one another, thinking her too slow, too clumsy, too large to compete. Zilla ignored them. She had learned to focus, to trust herself, and to use her unique skills rather than try to match others. Minutes passed, and something remarkable began to happen. Zilla's dish started to release aromas that drew the attention of everyone in the arena. Sweet, savory, spicy, tangy, every note perfectly balanced. The audience leaned forward, intrigued. She had created a fusion of flavors from her home planet, and techniques she had learned from Ethan, human ingenuity meeting alien tradition. The judges approached cautiously. Zilla's dish bubbled gently, steam spiraling upward like delicate ribbons. She carefully plated the ingredients, ensuring that colors and textures complemented one another. When she stepped back, She felt a surge of pride. This was her moment. The first judge tasted it. A faint smile appeared. The second judge tilted their head, swirling the dish and inhaling the aromas. The third judge leaned forward, multiple eyes narrowing, tasting slowly with focus. The crowd fell silent, all attention on the lavender alien girl who had worked quietly in her little corner. Then came the verdict.
This dish, the lead judge announced, represents originality, harmony, and courage. It blends flavors and cultures in a way that is not only delicious, but remarkable. In concept, the chef demonstrates understanding, creativity, and heart. The arena erupted in applause.
Zilla's ears twitched, and a bright flush spread across her cheeks. She had done it. Against highly skilled advanced competitors, she had created something unforgettable. Ethan clapped loudly from the sidelines, grinning.
"I told you," he said. "It's not about size or speed.
It's about heart, ingenuity, and skill." Zilla approached him, overwhelmed by emotion. "I never thought I could compete with them," she whispered. I just wanted to. You reminded everyone here that talent, determination, and creativity matter more than appearances. That's what humans do best, and now you've done it too. The competition didn't end there. Zilla was invited to prepare additional dishes for special demonstrations, each more complex than the last. She experimented with textures that floated gently in the air, sauces that changed color with temperature, and ingredients that were rare even to the judges. Ethan helped from behind the scenes, adjusting the heat, stabilizing platforms, and improvising tools from scraps he found in the arena. Zilla's confidence grew with every plate. She laughed as she worked, her nerves replaced by excitement and determination. She no longer worried about her size or what others thought of her. She had skill, heart, and a partner who trusted her completely. By the final round, the audience was captivated. Zilla moved gracefully, her plump form no longer a hindrance but part of her rhythm and presence. She plated her final creation, a multi-layered dessert stew that combined flavors from multiple planets, garnished with delicate floating crystals that shimmered in the arena lights. When she stepped back, the crowd erupted in cheers. The judges took their time. They tasted each layer carefully, nodded in approval, and exchanged glances. Finally, the lead judge spoke.
"This chef," they announced, "has challenged assumptions, surpassed expectations, and reminded us all that greatness comes in many forms. The winner of the Galactic Culinary Showcase is Zilla of Trelia."
Zilla's ears twitched, tears forming in her large eyes. She had done it. She had faced the galaxy's toughest judges, defeated her doubts, and proven her worth, not just to the universe, but to herself. Ethan ran forward and hugged her lightly on the shoulder.
"See, you always had it in you," he said.
"I just helped you see it." Zilla laughed softly, overwhelmed but happy. I never thought I could do this," she said. I'm not just too fat to be loved. I can create, inspire, and
be respected. The crowd continued to cheer, and aliens from all over the arena approached her, offering congratulations, friendship, and even requests to collaborate.
Zilla realized that her cooking had become more than a skill. It was a bridge between worlds. Her size, which she had once feared made her unlovable, was now part of her identity, and her talent was undeniable. Ethan watched her with pride. Humans had always thrived because they found ways to survive and innovate where others failed. Zilla had learned the same lessons. Ingenuity, courage, and heart mattered most. Together they had turned a simple cooking contest into a statement of perseverance and creativity. Later, in the quiet of the station's kitchen, Zilla prepared a small meal just for herself and Ethan. The contest was over. The crowds had dispersed, but the taste of victory lingered in the air. She looked at Ethan, who was quietly cleaning utensils and adjusting a small stove.
I feel different now, she said softly. I know I can do more than I imagined.
I am not just a joke or someone who is laughed at. I can be myself. Ethan nodded, and the galaxy is just starting to notice that. You've shown them what it means to combine skill, heart, and courage. You've reminded everyone that being different can be your greatest strength. Zilla smiled. Her ears twitched in delight.
Thank you for believing in me, she said. You never needed me to believe in you. Ethan replied.
You just needed someone to remind you to trust yourself. That's all humans, and sometimes friends, do best. As the twin suns of Valor set, casting a green and purple glow across the station, Zilla looked out over the docking bays. Ships from distant worlds would come seeking her skills, friends would arrive, and her life would change in ways she had never imagined. But for the first time, she was not afraid. She had proven herself. And more importantly, she had discovered her own strength and creativity. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, he said.
But whatever happens, you'll face it with the same heart and skill that won the contest. You're ready.
Zilla nodded, a small smile on her face. I am, she said. And I will cook, not just to impress, but to share and to inspire. The two stood quietly in the kitchen, surrounded by the scent of cooking, the hum of the station, and the distant stars beyond. The galaxy was vast, full of possibilities, but Zilla no longer felt small or powerless. She had a purpose, a talent, and a friend who trusted her. That was enough to face anything the universe could throw at her. And in that quiet moment, Zilla realized that her journey was only beginning, and that the galaxy, once intimidating, could be a place where creativity, determination, and heart mattered more than appearances. And sometimes, those qualities could change the world. The station had never been so busy. Ships from across the sector had come to taste Zilla's cooking, and the central arena, once a place of competitions, had been transformed into a bustling marketplace of flavors. Zilla moved through the crowd with confidence now, her lavender skin glowing under the soft lighting, her plump frame carrying a quiet grace. The nervous alien girl who had crash-landed months ago seemed a lifetime away. Ethan followed her closely, carrying crates of ingredients and keeping an eye on the chaotic energy of the station. Zilla's fame had grown faster than anyone could have predicted. She had been invited to showcase her dishes on multiple planets, to teach recipes, and even to collaborate with other renowned chefs. But the greatest change was in herself. Everything is set for the demonstration, Ethan said, checking the final crate of exotic herbs. Are you ready? Zilla smiled, a spark of excitement in her eyes. I think I am. It's different now.
I cook, not to prove anything anymore. I cook to share, to create, to make people happy.
Ethan nodded, impressed by her growth. And that's why you're better than anyone else.
Humans, aliens. Everyone respects someone who cooks with heart. That's HFY, Zilla.
Zilla laughed softly, her ears twitching. HFY? You really believe humans are amazing? Absolutely, Ethan said with a grin.
We survive. We adapt. We create. And you're proving you can too. The demonstration began. Zilla set up her portable kitchen on a raised platform in the arena, surrounded by alien spectators of all shapes and sizes. She had prepared a menu of dishes that fused flavors from Trelia, Valor, and techniques she had learned from Ethan. Every plate was a story, spicy, sweet, savory, and aromatic, designed to delight the senses and evoke emotion. The crowd watched in awe as Zilla worked. Her movements were precise but filled with life, her laughter occasionally escaping when a small mishap occurred. A spilled spice here, a floating vegetable there. But she corrected every mistake with ingenuity and skill, using improvised tools and quick thinking. Ethan stayed behind the scenes, quietly monitoring temperatures, adjusting the platform's gravity, and offering small advice. "Try using the heat in that pattern," he suggested, pointing to a stove. Zilla nodded and smiled, following his guidance without hesitation. Judges from multiple planets approached to taste her dishes. Some were skeptical at first, expecting another cute, alien novelty act. But as they tasted, expressions of surprise and delight spread across their faces. The flavors were unique, harmonious, and unforgettable. Zilla's dishes carried the essence of her home, the creativity of her mind, and the careful guidance she had received from Ethan. One judge, a tall insectoid with 6 arms, leaned forward, tasting the first course. "Incredible," they said.
"I've never experienced flavors like these. This chef
"Has true artistry." Another, a reptilian humanoid, nodded. "And the technique is flawless. She has adapted to her environment, using simple tools to create complex results. Remarkable." Zilla blushed, her ears twitching in delight. For the first time, she felt fully seen. Not as a plump alien girl, not as someone to be underestimated, but as a creator, a thinker, and an artist. The audience erupted in applause, and Zilla's heart swelled. She looked at Ethan, who smiled warmly, proud and quietly amazed at how far she had come. "See?" he whispered. "You don't need anyone to love you just for appearances. You're loved for your skill, your heart, and your courage." Zilla nodded. I understand now," she said softly. "It's not about looks. It's about who I am and what I can give."
The demonstration continued for hours.
Zilla prepared dishes that played with textures, aromas, and colors. Floating vegetables hovered above her pots. Sauces shimmered with subtle changes in temperature, and desserts transformed as they cooled. The crowd was enthralled, snapping images and recording holograms to share across the galaxy. Ethan quietly marveled at her ingenuity. Humans often thrived in challenging conditions because they could adapt, improvise, and make the most of what they had. Zilla was doing the same, applying these principles in the kitchen to create something extraordinary.
As the demonstration drew to a close, the judges gathered to announce the results. Zilla stood nervously, clutching her spice container.
The lead judge cleared their throat. "This chef," they said, addressing the crowd, "has not only impressed with flavor and technique, but has demonstrated courage, creativity, and ingenuity. She has taken simple tools and ingredients and created art that bridges worlds. Zilla of Tralia, you are the champion of this showcase." The arena erupted into cheers. Zilla's ears twitched in disbelief, and a blush spread across her face. She had won. She had proven herself to the galaxy, not through violence, strength, or intimidation, but through creativity, intelligence, and heart. Ethan clapped from the sidelines, grinning. "I told you," he said.
HFY, remember? Human spirit, ingenuity, and determination?
"And you've shown the galaxy that the same qualities exist in others too." Zilla laughed softly, overwhelmed with happiness. I never imagined this. I feel proud, not just of winning, but of myself." Over the next few days, Zilla's fame grew. Ships arrived from distant systems to taste her cooking, and requests poured in for collaborations, recipes, and advice. She had become a symbol of ingenuity, courage, and talent. Her confidence continued to grow, and she realized that her size, which she had once feared made her unlovable, was now part of her charm and identity. Ethan continued to support her, helping with logistics, equipment, and guidance, though Zilla no longer needed constant reassurance. They had developed a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared ingenuity. One evening, as the station quieted and the twin suns of Valor set, casting a soft green and purple glow across the docking bays, Zilla prepared a meal for Ethan and a few close friends. She laughed as she worked, floating vegetables spinning in the air, sauces shimmering with colors and aromas filling the room. Ethan watched her, quietly proud. Humans had always thrived by using their brains, creativity, and heart. Zilla had discovered that same truth, and in doing so, she had inspired others across the galaxy.
I never thought I could be this confident, Zilla said, smiling as she plated a final dessert. I understand now that being myself is enough.
Skills, creativity, heart, that's what matters. Ethan nodded. Exactly. Humans thrive because of those things. And now you do too. You're not just an amazing cook. You're an inspiration.
Zilla blushed. Thank you for believing in me, she said softly.
You didn't need me to believe, Ethan replied. You just needed someone to remind you to trust yourself.
That's all humans and friends do best.
The meal they shared was filled with laughter, stories, and the quiet pride of accomplishment.
Zilla had proven herself, found her voice, and discovered her strength. She had turned fear into confidence, self-doubt into creativity, and judgment into respect. Outside the station, ships from distant worlds came and went, carrying tales of a plump lavender alien girl who could cook meals that bridged cultures and inspired hearts. Inside, Zilla and Ethan continued to work, repair, and create. As Zilla looked out at the vast galaxy beyond the docking bays, she realized something profound. She had found her place. Not because she was perfect or fit someone else's expectations, but because she embraced her talents, trusted herself, and shared her heart with the world. And in that realization, she felt a quiet joy, a sense of belonging, and a spark of adventure. The galaxy was wide, full of challenges and opportunities, but she was ready. She would continue to cook, to inspire, and to prove that talent, courage, and heart were more powerful than fear or doubt. Ethan leaned beside her, watching the stars.
Ready for the next challenge? He asked.
Zilla smiled, her ears twitching with excitement.
Always, she said. And I know now.
I am not too fat or too different to be loved, respected, or valued. I just need to be me. The twin suns of Valor set behind them, casting long shadows across the station. The stars beyond sparkled with possibility, and for Zilla, the universe was no longer intimidating. It was a canvas waiting for her creativity, courage, and heart. And so, Zilla and Ethan continued their journey, side by side. One a human who thrived through ingenuity and kindness, the other a plump alien girl who had discovered the power of talent, determination, and self-belief. Together, they showed the galaxy that being different was not a weakness, but a source of strength, and that sometimes the smallest actions, the simplest meals, and the purest heart could change worlds. Zilla laughed softly as she plated another dessert, steam rising in colorful swirls. Ethan chuckled behind her, adjusting the floating stove. The galaxy would continue to challenge them, but for now they had each other, their skills, and the proof that creativity, courage, and heart were enough to shine, even in the vastest reaches of space. And somewhere deep inside, Zilla knew that this was only the beginning.
I'm too fat to be loved, sir. But I can cook, said the fat alien girl to the human mechanic, but